Hello ladies and gentlemen and TV show lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host Brett Murphy, and for today's video I have a brand new ranking for you all, and I am going to be ranking all 8 of the 2022 comic book shows. So right out of the gate you might be wondering why only 8. There is a key one that I am missing, and that is Umbrella Academy Season 3. Truth be told, and I am ashamed to admit it, it is on the watch list, but I have not seen a single episode of Umbrella Academy, so with the release of Season 3, of course, I didn't watch the 3rd season of a show that I haven't even started yet. So comic book shows have now basically become just about as popular as the comic book movies, with the Disney Plus MCU original series being canon and tying in very closely with the movies, to spin-offs like the Suicide Squad's Peacemaker, to the outrageous and wild comic book adaptations like The Boys, where that just wouldn't possibly work as a movie or even a movie series, and also some TV special presentations like Marvel's Werewolf by Night and the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Before I hop into the actual ranking itself, I just wanted to let you all know that I have an entire playlist dedicated to all of my ranking videos. There is already over 100 videos on that playlist, so if rankings are your thing, then check that out and I guarantee you'll find something you like. And so without further ado, let's hop right into things. Number 8. She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Now look, just because this is in last place doesn't mean I absolutely hate it. I feel like She-Hulk has been such an easy target this year, and so many people just take advantage of that and shit all over the series. And truth be told, it is far from perfect. I mean, it is in this last place spot. A lot of people just didn't like the overall style of the show, a lot of people were quick to criticize the CGI in the show, a lot of people just really didn't vibe with the style of humor, but I am a believer in giving credit where credit is due. Firstly, I felt that Tatiana Maslany was a wonderful casting choice for She-Hulk, and I think she fits the role very, very well. It gave us Tim Roth back as at least this altered version of Abomination. We got to dive even deeper into Mark Ruffalo in this new version of the Hulk, as well as finally meeting the Hulk's son, even though people were pretty quick to criticize his look as well. I applaud the creators of this show for sticking so closely to the source material by allowing She-Hulk to break the fourth wall, and of course, above all else, the number one reason that most people watch this show, which is pretty sad to admit, but we finally have Charlie Cox back as Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil. Number 7. Miss Marvel. Really, Miss Marvel should probably be a lot higher on this list if it wasn't for the fact that the villains absolutely sucked, the CGI was pretty wonky, and I felt that the show kind of fell off on the latter half of this first season. Because I'd probably give this series like at least a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10, which is a pretty great score. Like, I really liked this show. It's just because I'm comparing it to everything else that it ends up down here towards the bottom. I thought that Iman Vellani was the perfect casting choice for Kamala Khan. She was born to play the role. And I always say I understand and am completely okay with the changing of her powers. Given the current state of the MCU and what's to come, it just makes sense. Where this series really shines is its unique style as well as the more personal stuff. At least that's what I really enjoyed about it. I liked seeing Kamala Khan's home life with her family. I liked exploring the Pakistani culture. I liked seeing her with her friends and in her mosque and just doing her day-to-day life stuff. She was just such a relatable and likable character, and those were the things that I really gravitated towards. It's when we hit the actual superhero stuff that it kind of lost me. Nevertheless though, I cannot wait to see her appear in the Marvels, and I would truthfully really like a season 2 of this show as well. Number 6. Werewolf by Night. So this number 6 entry and the next number 5 entry are pretty interchangeable if you ask me. I'd score them the exact same. Werewolf by Night was a very interesting case. It was the first of these new experimental special presentations for the MCU. And for me personally, I found that it started off kind of slow, it felt kind of cheesy, a little bit too campy, and just overall sort of cheap. But once the hunt itself actually begins is where it drew me in and I really fell for it. The CGI was a bit hokey, which is kind of a common theme with these MCU shows. I really don't know why they don't give them bigger budgets, because they can absolutely afford to, but that's besides the point. The thing I really loved the most about this special presentation was the fact that it went all in on its darker tone and more mature rating. This is by far the most violent and brutal project we have gotten from the MCU yet. I mean, people are getting their limbs chopped off, there is a portion where there's just blood spraying all over the camera. Yes, I think they got away with a lot of this because it is primarily in black and white, but that doesn't change the fact that I applaud them for really taking this in a much different direction than we're used to. Plus, I really hope we get to explore this side of the MCU more. I want to see more of Jack and Jack as a werewolf. I want to see more of Man-Thing. I want to see the other monsters that have been hunted and could be hunted in the future. That side of Marvel is just so interesting to me, and I feel like there's so much more to explore. Number 5. The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Okay, say what you want about the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special because the ratings are actually surprisingly low in my opinion, but I personally loved it. It did exactly what it set out to do, and that was give me that warm and fuzzy feeling on the inside that the best Christmas movies, shows, and TV specials are supposed to. I think they nailed the comedy here, I think they nailed the heart and the emotion here, and I think that they nailed that Christmas spirit feeling. Not to mention, I was pleasantly surprised by the fact that some story elements in here actually progressed some character arcs a little bit further and really did add some progression to the overall Guardians of the Galaxy story. Was it perfect? No, not by any means, but was it a solid 45 minutes of holiday fun that I'm going to be watching year after year? Most definitely. Number 4. The Sandman. So this is likely the most interesting case on this list. One of the most interesting cases of this entire year because it is one of the most divisive comic book projects in recent memory. If you take the time to look at the scores and read through some reviews, you will see just how split people are on this one. Some fans of the original comics loved it and some hated it. Some people who never even knew it existed or never read the comics like myself either loved it or hated it. Some people say it started strong and then lost some steam and ended poorly. Some people say the opposite to that. This is probably the number 1 show on this list that released within this last year that requires you to watch it yourself and form your own opinion. But one way or another, The Sandman was popular enough to get a season 2. Are you looking for the perfect gift for the movie lover in your life, or maybe you just want to treat yourself? Then look no further than the most unique piece of movie art you could possibly have with Movie Palette. Visit moviepalette.com right now and use code BAM15 at the checkout for 15% off your order. And now, back to the video. Number 3. Moon Knight. I'll admit, Moon Knight almost lost me in the beginning. I felt that the first 2 or 3 episodes just didn't do enough for me. They were a little slow, they weren't diving into the mystery as much as I would have liked, and it felt like they were cutting away from all of the interesting and exciting parts. But thankfully, it hit a tipping point in the second half of this, hopefully first season, was superb. In particular, episode 5 is my favorite episode of any MCU show yet. I was simply blown away. Oscar Isaac in the lead role, or I guess I should say lead roles, totally delivers. Ethan Hawke is a severely underrated villain in the MCU if you ask me. I love his cold, calculated demeanor, and he gets shit done. May Calamwe as Layla was magnificent, and though most people seem to be fairly divided on how this finale played out, I personally loved this finale. I thought that it delivered. It was big, bombastic, did a lot for the plot as well, and of course that ending twist set up flawlessly for more of Moon Knight, and I just pray that we get it. Number 2, The Boys Season 3. So I am a major fan of The Boys, so there's a bit of bias here because of how much I already loved the series, given that this is the only series on this list today that is later in its life. It's on season 3 heading into season 4. The rest were either special presentations, first seasons, or the only seasons. So my love for this show has built up over time. And really, when it comes to season 3, I felt that it delivered on all fronts except for the finale. I have a few gripes with the finale finale that I will address here. And that was the fact that I felt there was a bit too much copping out. So what I mean by that is that if you go back to the season 1 or season 2 finales, yes, they do set up for the next season, but for the most part, all of the storylines have kind of come, maybe not to a close, but an appropriate pause. And this season 3 finale is the only one of the series so far that I felt was totally just set up for the next season. There was a couple of characters we thought were gonna die or did die, of course they didn't, and it seemed like some parts of the story were really hitting their breaking points. They were setting up for big things, and then they kind of just fumbled the ball and pushed things off until the next season or the season after that. So there was really all this build up and no payoff throughout the season. However, like I said, everything up until the finale, I adored. It was hilarious, it was brutal, it was violent. There was actually some really solid emotional moments, and that's what The Boys is very good for. Mixing multiple genres, blending the comedy with the drama, blending the action with the violence and gore and over-the-topness and raunchiness. It has some of the show's most memorable episodes, best characters, and unforgettable moments. And although I did definitely enjoy elements of the finale, I just feel it's the weakest finale of the 3 we have gotten so far, and I wish there was more payoff than what we got. Number 1, Peacemaker. So a little story about Peacemaker. I thought the character was good, not great in the Suicide Squad, and the build up to the show, I really wasn't all that interested. However, my brother watched the first episode, recommended it to me, and it did not take me long at all to fall head over heels for this one. I loved all of the characters, and I actually remember them, which is something I can't always say about every other series on this list. Of course, you have Peacemaker, Vigilante, Myrn, Harcourt, Adebayo, Economos, and I didn't have to look any of them up. Well, that's not entirely true. I had to look up what Economos' real name was because I know the actor Steve Agee, and I mostly remembered him as Diebeard. But aside from that, I remember all of these characters because I loved them that much. Not to mention this has possibly the most absurdly hilarious intro of all time. Not one time did I skip that intro. Yes, the show does start off a bit generic, tries a little too hard to be funny, and is just a touch too raunchy, but as it progresses, boy oh boy was I surprised. It delivers on the action, it delivers on the comedy, and it delivers some extremely memorable and some extremely emotional moments. Every single one of the stars gets a ton of time to shine, and they use it so well. John Cena, major applause to him. I never took him seriously as an actor, but in this show, he proved me wrong. He was his normal self for the first few episodes, but as we get deeper into his story and his character, he gets some hard-hitting moments, and I just gotta say bravo to him for proving me wrong. So major props once again to James Gunn. He is a mastermind, and I have no idea why I doubted him. I cannot wait for season 2 of this show, but the first season, as of right now, is my favorite comic book show of 2022. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with my ranking. While you're at it, don't forget to let me know how you would have ranked all 8 of the 2022 comic book shows. And if you've seen Umbrella Academy, feel free to throw that in there too. If you're a movie or TV show lover of any kind, then my channel is the place to be for you. Be it rankings like this one, top 10s versus videos, tier videos, I have all those and so much more with over 600 videos already on the channel and many more on the way. So if you enjoyed this particular video, then be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if any of that sounds like it's right for you, then smash that subscribe button right now. While you're at it, don't forget to ring that little bell icon. That way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching, and that's a wrap. Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you. And while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.